2. The garden was quiet in a way that felt alive. Moonlight filtered through glowing leaves, casting silver patterns across the ground. Simba stood alone near the heart of the secret garden, his paws resting on cool stone, his breath slow but heavy. Ever since the spirit had spoken to him the night before, the air felt different, heavier, watchful, as if the garden itself were waiting for something. The ground beneath his paws began to hum. Simba lifted his head sharply. The soft glow of the flowers dimmed, and the garden shifted. Paths that once looked familiar twisted and stretched into new shapes. The trees leaned inward, their branches forming archways like silent judges. "This is it," Simba murmured. The test low voice echoed, not from one direction, but from everywhere at once. Every king must be tested, not by strength, but by truth. Simba stepped forward, heart pounding. "I'm ready!" The garden responded instantly. The light changed, and suddenly Simba was no longer in the garden. He stood on Pride Rock, but it was empty. No animals below, no voices, no life. The plains were dry and cracked, the sky dull and colorless. A chill ran through him. "This isn't real," Simba whispered, though doubt crept into his voice. A familiar voice answered him, gentle but firm. "Isn't it?" Simba turned. Mufasa stood behind him. Not glowing. Not distant. Real Simba's breath caught Dad. Mufasa looked out over the barren Pride lands. This is what happens when a king doubts his purpose. Simba shook his head. A tribe tried to protect them. I've tried to lead with fairness. Mufasa finally looked at him. And yet you still fear you are not enough. The words struck deep. The land around them shifted again, and Simba found himself back in the garden, but now it was divided. Half of it bloomed with light and color, while the other half withered into shadow. Flowers wilted. Streams dried. The balance was broken. The garden's voice returned. Leadership is not control. It is balance. Which side do you choose? Simba stepped toward the blooming side instinctively, but the ground beneath him cracked. The light flickered. A vision appeared, Simba roaring, standing tall, ruling with absolute authority. The animals bowed, but their eyes held fear instead of trust. "That's not who I am," Simba said softly. The shadow side shifted, revealing another vision. Simba stepping back, hesitating, letting others decide while danger crept in unnoticed. The Pride lands burned while he stood frozen by doubt. Simba clenched his jaw. And that isn't right either. The garden trembled, then walked the path between narrow trail appeared, winding between light and shadow. Simba took a breath and stepped onto it. Withered steads. Memories surfaced, moments of failure, moments of regret. His voice echoed in his mind, harsh and unforgiving. You weren't there. You made the wrong choice. You should have known better. Simba stopped, lowering his head. I know, he whispered. I've made mistakes. I always will. The garden waited. Simba lifted his head, eyes steady now. But I learned from them, to grow, not only alone. The whispers faded. The garden brightened. Another vision rose, this time of Simba standing beside Nala, Rafiki, Timon, Pumbaa, and the animals of the Pride lands. He wasn't above them. He was among them. Listening, guiding, trusting. Mufasa's voice returned, warm and proud. A true king does not fear his past. He learns from it. Simba felt the weight on his chest lift. The garden shifted one final time, returning to its full beauty. Light and shadow blended perfectly. Streams flowed again. Flowers bloomed brighter than before. The gentle spirit of the garden appeared, her form woven of moonlight and leaves. You have passed the test, she said softly. Not because you were without fear, but because you faced it. Simba bowed his head respectfully. Pause. I understand now. Being king isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. The spirit smiled. And remembering that unity is stronger than pride. As dawn approached, the garden settled into peaceful stillness. Simba stood at its center, feeling calmer, stronger, not because he had proven his power, but because he had accepted his truth. When Simba finally turned toward the path back to the Pride Lands, his steps were confident. The garden had tested his heart, and he had answered, not with a roar, but with wisdom.